All right, guys. Again, today is Wednesday, January 28th, 2026. You're listening to Fire 107.7 FM. This is Hard Talk, the show where we discuss the issues that matter. And of course, today we have a lot of issues on the agenda, as always, but the most pressing one is the issue of taxes. Now, taxes affect everyone. Doesn't matter what walk of life you are. It just doesn't matter. In St. Lucia, everyone pays taxes. Doesn't matter if you're young, you're old, you're new. Doesn't matter if you're something old, something new, something borrowed, or something blue. You pay taxes. We have tax mechanisms like the health and security levy, the 2.5 health and security levy on goods and services. We also have the somebody's on here giving me some love. Person is saying, you look bright today. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for noticing, guys. Thank you for noticing. I did a little extra because, yesterday I realized that I didn't do much. So today I said, let me give my audience something to look at. So I took my time and I added a little pizzazz. So thank you for noticing. Anyway, back to the taxes. You have me out here preening like a peacock. All right. So whether you pay the VAT, whether you pay income taxes, property tax, if you sell a piece of property, you have to pay a vendor's tax. But taxes affect everyone in St. Lucia at every point in their life, every walk of life, every income bracket, every educational background, every social standing. Taxes affect each and every person's life. And we have a new administration. Well, not really a new administration. Like I said, they're kind of like a wedding, aren't they? Something new, something old, something new, something borrowed. And a lot of them, one of them even wears blue. So, oh, thank you. My goodness. The compliments are coming. Let me tell you, you guys are going to make my head swell and it's going to pop those headphones off. So just let's not make the headphones break, But thank you for noticing, guys. Thank you. So our administration, they've borrowed from the UWP. They have a few new candidates. They have the same old labor mentality. And they even have the blue wave. So something old, something new, something borrowed, and something blue. That is the makeup of our cabinet. And these guys are into taxation. It's their bread and butter. Yes, I know a country cannot run without taxes. I'm not disputing that. I'm simply saying that it is necessary, but they affect everyone. Now, we all know that successive administrations, successive governments keep alluding to the fact that we have a tax collection problem in St. Lucia. And I guess that more than anything was the rationale for implementing the value-added tax on goods across the island. Now, I remember clearly former Prime Minister Alan Shastney making a promise to reduce the VAT and to attempt to phase it out, which is something that he didn't do during his tenure. And I have been one of those people who've questioned Mr. Chasney during an interview about that initiative. And I said to him, so you promised during your campaign that you would reduce VAT and seek to phase it out eventually. You didn't achieve that. Can you tell us why? And he said, and I remember very clearly, he said, it was his intention to phase out the value-added tax. But after not consideration, after consultations, right? After consultations with, the IMF, World Bank, and all of these people, he was convinced that the value-added tax is the most effective way to collect taxes because it is a sales tax and you collect it up front. So he sought to reduce it and to attempt to increase economic activity by growing the economy. Sen Croy is in the house. Good afternoon to you and thank you for joining us. And those of you listening on the Fire 107.7 FM frequency, the 107.7 FM frequency on your radio, I see you. Good afternoon to you. Those of you joining us on the link, the Fire 107.7 link, good afternoon to you as well. Yeah, so let's go back to the taxes. So, of course, you know that in 2021, when Philip J. Pierre assumed the leadership of the country after that election, he introduced a 2.5% health and security levy. Now, his administration was very vocal in opposing the reduction, because you would recall that we paid value-added tax at a rate of 15% initially. And that amount was reduced to 12.5%, by the Alan Chasney administration. And we knew that there was so much talk from the opposition at the time, the SLP administration, opposition, that the country was suffering. They lost so much money because of that reduction in value-added tax. So, nobody, I think, was surprised when Prime Minister Philip J. Pierre introduced the 2.5% health and security levy to increase the taxes that the country collects. Now, the 2.5% health and security levy, that tax has been placed on goods and services. So everything, every single thing. I think the only thing that you don't pay the 2.5% levy on is the air you breathe. So, of course, the price of goods has gone up, the price of services has increased, and overall, the cost of living has dramatically increased in St. Lucia since that tax was implemented. Now, if you recall, earlier, either early January or late December, I can't remember which, but if you were listening at the time, You would have heard me speak about or read out a IMF, International Monetary Fund report that actually recommended that more taxes be introduced in St. Lucia. One of the recommendations was a gas tax, and they recommended that we increase payments to the NIC. You know, the NIC is the institution that every single one of us, every working St. Lucian, will need after we retire, because that is the island's pension fund. So a very essential institution in St. Lucia. Now, that's not all the NIC provides. It provides a limited health coverage because you get sick leave. It provides maternity benefits. It provides coverage at hospital to a certain extent. So, limited health coverage, maternity benefits, disability benefits, survivors benefits, pensions, so on and so forth. We all know the NIC provides these services which are essential to St. Lucians. But we know, because of the drop in our birth rate, the rapid rate at which we are losing men and women, young men and women who should really be working and contributing to the NIC, it is projected that NIC will run out of money sometime in the near future. And when I say near future, guys, I'm talking about before I am eligible for pension. Another one of the recommendations was to increase the age for retirement. Yes. So, now, in order to encourage delinquent taxpayers to pay their money or pay their taxes, the SLP administration, under the leadership of Honorable Philip J. Pierre, introduced certain tax amnesty measures. And this Monday, at the pre-cabinet press briefing, Mr. Pierre gave an assessment on how those initiatives have turned out. And I want you guys to take a listen, because this is going to be our topic for the day. Again, guys, taxes, they affect us all. No running away from it. So it's important. We need to listen to this. I bring you now to the pre-cabinet press briefing and the statement of Prime Minister Philip J. Pierre.
We have to harness it and do what we have to do to improve it. I want to call on the person of the previous administration, especially to pay their taxes. The government has been very generous as far as the tax amnesty is concerned. I must tell you that we are not getting the results we expected from the tax amnesty. The government has been very generous. Wrote up taxes from 2000 plus. We've wrote up all the interest and the penalties on taxes due. We are not getting the results that we expected. The government will have to look at other means of collecting the taxes that are owed to the government of St. Lucia. If that is collected as VAT is held in trust, PAYE is in trust, health and security levy is in trust, This has to be remitted to the government of St. Lucia. The government was very generous. It was not remitted. We waived all the interest and all the penalties, much to the disgust of international financial institutions. We did it. We are calling the public of the people who owe the government's taxes, please pay your taxes. The amnesty has not given us the results that we expected. We're very disappointed. We're into budget discussions now, and we have to decide where we're going as far as that's concerned. But it's a responsibility. Once the taxes, particularly the taxes that are being held in trust, particularly in trust, we waive the interest on these taxes. At the next session of Parliament, we are going to give them more tax incentives. We're going to give them more tax relief. Pensioners pay no taxes now on any income that they owe. Pensioners, both government pension and other income. I was very pleased in this business. They are.
So, as you heard from the Prime Minister of St. Lucia, there is an issue. People are not paying their taxes. But in order to combat that issue, they will be given more tax amnesty. Not sure how that works. I mean, if you're already not getting the taxes that you need, you're giving away more tax amnesty. But I'm not the Prime Minister, and I am not a economist. So I don't know the rationale. I mean, if you're saying that you did a tax amnesty, it didn't yield the results, you're very disappointed. Yet your solution is to do more of the thing that didn't really work the way it was supposed to in the first place. I'm not sure how that will make the situation better. But again, guys, as I said, I'm not a politician. I am not an economist. And I don't really know about that. I just don't think if something isn't working that the solution is to continue to do more of the same, more of what doesn't work. But the situation seems to be dire, guys, because the Prime Minister is employing people to pay their taxes. He's begging. He's saying, please, St. Lucians, pay your taxes, please. I think that indicates how serious it is, because the Prime Minister said, please. Now, we also have a situation where we have new taxes that were added, but the people of St. Lucia really are not aware of some of those new taxes. I say this because while this government has always said that they were putting people first, they haven't been really clear as to who exactly these people were that they were putting first or that they were referring to. You have a situation in St. Lucia where farmlands were exempt from taxation for a very, very long time. I think since the time of John Compton and the original UWP. We had also a situation where you had to be earning a certain amount of money in a certain salary. You had to be in a certain income bracket to pay income taxes. And there was a consumption tax, there was all of that. So when the VAT was introduced, St. Lucians were told that this value added tax would replace all of those consumption taxes. But the impression was given that persons would no longer be paying income tax. Now, of course, the SLP administration, because you would recall that it was Dr. Kenny Anthony who first introduced the value added tax. On the campaign trail, it was implied that once the VAT takes effect, people would no longer be paying income tax. That the VAT would replace all consumption taxes. And several individuals supported that initiative and voted the SLP into power. Fast forward, present day, this has not come to pass. Now, there was also a situation in St. Lucia where foreign investors were exempt from taxes for a period of, I think, 10 years. And then they would begin to pay taxes. But of course, this situation has manifested itself in a way that I don't think anyone was prepared for. Because a lot of those foreign investors who, by the way, are hoteliers and some of them were factory owners and all of that. Some of them, and there's a very, very famous case of a certain hotel in the north of the island who miraculously changes ownership every 8 to 9 years. It's the only one. And I believe that this is an attempt, a legal maneuver, to avoid paying taxes. Now, I may not be assessing the situation correctly, but I also believe that if it walks like a duck, it quacks like a duck, it waddles, it's most likely a duck. So, I may be wrong, but this is how I see it. We know what happened with the factory shells all around St. Lucia, those in Viewfort, Manumatics, and so on and so forth. I heard that there were meat processors and all of that. When Dr. Kenny Anthony increased taxes on the business community, a lot of these investors, they shipped out. Several of those factories closed, and the unemployment rate began to rise. So, in comes Alan Chasney, and in 2021, reduces VAT from 15% to 12.5%, and then COVID hits. And we all know that COVID-19 put the economic growth of the country at a serious disadvantage. And it wasn't just our country that was affected, it was the entire region, it was the entire globe. Every country contracted, economic growth ground to a halt, economic activity stopped. Every country on the globe was affected. We know that. But in the recovery, in the aftermath of COVID, in the recovery period, we heard so many accusations. Oh, the country has lost millions, and several figures were flown about to indicate that the reduction in value-added tax during the 2016 to 2021 administration hobbled the island's economic growth. So, in comes Philip J. Pierre, pledges that he's going to do everything different, put people first, yada, yada, yada. Several promises were made. Tax amnesty was one of those promises. Now, this is the first time that the Prime Minister has come forward to say to the populace how things are going in the tax collection sector in the country. Let's call it a sector. Now, you recall that there was a $40 million loan taken from the IMF. That loan was used to facilitate the implementation of the 2.5% levy, which was supposed to be, or let me rephrase that, because you have to see things the right way. Accountability, transparency, truth, and integrity here on Hardtalk. We have to say things the right way. So let me say that in the way that the Prime Minister said it. He said that he was introducing a 2.5% levy to improve healthcare and citizen security. He even named it the Health and Citizen Security Levy. Except we found out later that this tax had absolutely nothing to do with neither healthcare nor security. And this we found out after the Prime Minister was questioned in the House of Parliament and then revealed that this tax was to help collect money to pay that $40 million loan. Now, a number of taxes, as I was saying earlier, have been introduced that have not been aired out in the public sphere as well as they should be. Did you know, St. Lucia, that if you are a property owner and you choose to sell a piece of your property, that you will be required to pay a vendor's tax? And that is in addition to the VAT and the levy that you are already required to pay. Did you know that property taxes, which had been suspended under the Alan Chastney administration, of course, because of COVID, are re-emerging. Were you aware that if you have property, you are now required to pay for selling that property, or just for, well, the property taxes are no longer, the lull on property tax payments are no longer in effect? Or was it a freeze? Yeah, let's say a freeze. Now, the property taxes, people might say, well, we were already paying that. But it was because of extenuating circumstances that there was a moratorium on those taxes. And you are correct. But this new vendor's tax, people, have you been told about this tax? Have you been properly informed about the Tax Administration and Procedures Act, which empowers the Controller of Inland Revenue with virtually more powers than the Controller of Customs? Did you know that this act combines 13 archaic tax laws that had been phased out and were obsolete because they employed draconian measures to collect taxes? Are you aware that these archaic, draconian, and obsolete tax laws have now been combined or compiled into the Tax Administration and Procedures Act? And if this act is brought to Parliament and it is put into effect, then the Inland Revenue Department will have the power to confiscate people's property, to stop persons from leaving the country if they owe taxes. There's even a part of that act that says that if you owe taxes and you have a mortgage, and as collateral for that mortgage you've put up a piece of property and you've handed that property over to the bank as collateral for that mortgage, that the controller of Inland Revenue has the power excuse me, to confiscate that property from the bank, sell it in order, confiscate that property from the bank, demand that the bank hands over that property, and they have the power to sell it to pay off your delinquent taxes. Now, this act, the Tax Administration and Procedures Act, you might recall, was circulated in the public domain a couple of years ago, maybe in 2022, 2023, thereabout. I think it was 2023, maybe 2023, 2024. And you would recall that the Prime Minister at the time attempted unsuccessfully to blame Alan Shastney for the implementation of that act. He claimed he had never seen it, he'd never heard about it, he didn't know anything about it. Nobody in his cabinet, according to him, had seen it, and that it was something that Alan Chastney had put together, and the technocrats of the Ministry of Finance had circulated it for public consultation. But he had no idea. And then he said, and I quote, when the act crosses his desk, he would proceed with it as per the instructions of the former Prime Minister. Now, I don't know, I'm not sure in this new term, because that Tax Administration and Procedures Act, the TAPA Act, after it was circulated in the media, after reporters started asking questions, and I remember there was a session where there was a press conference held where Zane, Romulus, and myself attempted to question the Prime Minister thoroughly on this Tax Administration and Procedures Act. At first, he claimed he had no idea, but then after a while, he actually told us a bit more about this act. He said that these were laws that were already on the books, but they'd become obsolete, and that in an effort to review those laws, they had been compiled. They were looking to reenact some of them, and they had been circulated in the public domain for consultation. But when I listened to the Prime Minister, after that, after all the publicity and all the questions, that Tax Administration Act was maybe put on hold because it was a really hot topic at the time. But during Monday's press conference, the Prime Minister made a statement or reference to using the big stick. So my question this afternoon, and I hope the Prime Minister is listening, my question this afternoon is, does this big stick, does it include the Tax Administration and Procedures Act? And if so, will this act be amended to take off some of the more draconian measures included in the document, or will it be enacted as is? You see, we heard the Prime Minister saying that he's given tax amnesty and he has encouraged persons to pay their taxes. But the tax amnesty doesn't seem to be working. Regardless, the Prime Minister, of course, at the risk of being called insane for doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result, has endeavored to continue with said tax amnesty. So, is he now going to, since he has pledged to use the big stick, does the big stick include implementing the Tax Administration and Procedures Act? Now, St. Lucia, you know how we do it here on Hard Talk. The phone lines are always open for your opinion. And the number to call, if you want to call us on the WhatsApp platform or on the landline, is, of course, 572-3473. If you want to drop us a line on the WhatsApp, send us a WhatsApp message. You know the number, 572-3473. But we already have some people chiming in on the Facebook platform. Somebody's saying, oh, we have so many people who've joined the live. We have people from the UK, Vancouver, St. Croix, Martinique, and all over the island. We have New York in the house. Good afternoon to you guys. Thank you for being here with us. Somebody says, blessings to you, my dear, listening from the cold. Another says, they were after Allen for bringing down the VAT because they knew what dishonest way they would use to get them to power. Someone is saying things hot. Are the CIP money slow? I don't know. The Prime Minister hasn't said. Somebody says, Angie, PJP implemented a 2.5% levy, and he told the people thanks for accepting it because they never complained. The people voted Labour to power again, so that means they are thirsty to pay more taxes. I don't think I agree with that. I mean, I know that taxes are important. They are essential to keeping the country running. But I feel like there are other ways that a government can raise money without taxing the people half to death. Now, to me, it's a double-edged sword, and I am speaking particularly in reference to the policies of this government ever since 2021, because let's face it, there was no regime change or administration change in 2025. Like I said, something old, something new, something borrowed, and something blue. It's the same PJP, the same Labour administration. Nothing has changed. But let us examine their policies, and we're starting from 2021. So, in the latter part of the last term, we saw a lot of handouts being given. We saw several one-time payments to certain groups in the society, pensioners, we saw teachers, and vulnerable persons. We saw an increase in pensions. We saw an increase in the country's wage bill. And these were in tandem with the increase in taxes. I particularly remember when the pensions were increased. When there was this whole debate as to whether or not that increase was a real increase because of the staggering cost of living in the country. Now, this was a huge discussion, and several people came out in support, people came out in opposition. But let's examine this properly. What's the point of giving me a handout and then taxing away the lion's share of that handout? And now I have to come back and ask you for another handout. To me, it makes no sense. And let's forget, these are not the only taxes that we pay. I know we talk about the health and security levy. We talk about the VAT. But do you know that we pay a gas tax? Are you aware that the gas tax, which, by the way, the current administration, when they were in opposition, opposed vehemently, You would recall they said that it was unfair for the fishermen to pay the gas tax because they don't operate on the country's roads. Of course, you would recall that this gas tax was implemented as a way of ensuring the maintenance of the country's motorway. But we were told that it was unfair for the fishermen to pay this tax because they do not use the roads. Also, in direct contrast to what they were saying while in opposition, this Philip J. Pierre administration, well, the last Philip J. Pierre administration, they came in 2021, and while they complained that the $1.50 gas tax was too much, they added another dollar and increased that gas tax to $2.50. And of course, because they were the ones who implemented it, the fishermen had to be quite happy paying the tax. Now, I'm tempted to ask the question, have the country's waterways been paved? Is that why there's no talk of it being unfair for the fishermen to now have to pay a $2.50 gas tax? I'm tempted, but I'm not going to ask the question because several people will take umbrage if I do. But I'm thinking about it because they didn't use the roads, right? So are they now using roads? Are the waterways paved? And then the airport tax, which by the way was paid by persons coming into the country and was a tax that was targeted at foreign arrivals or visitor arrivals in order to pay for the upgrade and upkeep of the Uranera International Airport. Now, I'm not sure what is happening with that tax. I'm not sure if this tax has been discontinued, but I doubt it because I did speak with a family member who lives overseas who said that I'm paying too much. I'm paying way more to enter St. Lucia than I pay to enter the United States. So I'm guessing these taxes are still being collected. But funny, is there any maintenance or upgrades being done to the Uranera International Airport? In fact, the tower project has been stopped, no? And I still remember that video, that infamous video of the travel agents or the attendants, whatever they're called, attempting to provide service to travelers while having to do some rainwater harvesting because all the roofs, well, the roof of that building is leaking, which shouldn't be. It just shouldn't be. So I would guess that there's very little upgrades taking place at the Uranera International Airport. Now, I might be wrong, but I'm just guessing here. So, all of these taxes, the gas tax, and when gas is high, at the pump, the price of gas and fuel, it affects the price of everything. It affects the price of electricity because Lucelec, our electricity generating company, uses diesel fuel to generate electricity. That electricity is then sent to Wasco or tapped into by Wasco for their water pumping and purification services. And you remember the Prime Minister saying that there actually is a document before the NUC. Oh, we have a caller on the line right away. Good afternoon to you, caller. You are on the air.
Good afternoon to you, Angie. How are you?
I am good. How are you?
I am there listening to you. It's a very good topic, Angie. I am listening attentively. Very good topic. What I want to say, the first thing I want to say, St. Lucia need good journalists, the reporters or what you call them. You cannot tell me Philip J. Pierre coming election, he's coming to be prime minister. And no good reporter will stop him, the open seat or what seat you call him somewhere, and ask him some important questions. By example, what about the tax? Will you lower the tax? Will you, like the 2.5? He just sent it on us. Without accepting or not, he just put that 2.5 on us. And he told us thanks. When Alan Chasney came to power, watch what he did. The Hiranoa airport was being built, or what you say. The hospital was being built, roads was being built. Things was going on fine. We had work in the country. Beg your pardon?
But caller, remember.
We had no tax.
Remember that.
Remember,
caller.
He brought down.
Hello, can you hear me? Hello?
It's a little. It's not clear, Angie. It's a little. What will I say? Yeah, it's not too clear.
Can you hear me?
I don't know if you're hearing me clear.
I can hear you clearly, but I don't know if you can hear me. Okay, so
yes, I am.
You're talking about roads, but remember they campaigned on the notion that people don't eat roads.
I remember very clear, like today, like now, Angie.
So
I remember.
That is why I didn't mention about the roads being built, because people don't need roads.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. What you said, you spoke about the gas, the 150 he added for the fiscal folks. They talked about it. And up to now, nobody came and asked him, but the 150 is already there. You didn't take it out. What will you do for this coming election after? Will you take it? Nobody asked Philip J. that question. The 150 is there. We had no investors, as if investors afraid of Labour Party government. We had a BMAX project, dishonest. We had what is it again with the hotel that was building it's there as if.
You mean the Canals Hotel?
What did you say?
You mean the Canals Hotel?
The Canals Hotel, up to now, is not built. The hospital, they had to lend a big amount of money it's not finished up to now. They give their tricks and we handed it. People are still working. And all that happened while Philip J. Pierre was in power. He came again to be prime minister, election campaign. Nobody, no reporters stopped Philip J. Pierre. There was only an Alan Chasney about healthcare. They refused to give theirs, but they're hitting on United. And I'm seeing United Workers' Party in a better position to take care of the country. They explain when I didn't say everything will be perfect, but they were clear on what they would do. Philip J. Pierre said nothing. Now they're talking about what about the tax I heard you there? So what time he knew that tax was needed for the country? Well, so what are we to believe? Since he's coming up with that now, all that money you spend for giving people free tickets, you didn't know you have to leave that money there to help solutions on what's going on. You gave away money, black and white and center. So what are the solutions? With solutions, are they thinking, or they're just there? We don't care. Pay us and we'll put you there. So they are not there for the betterment of the country, Angie. That's what I'm thinking every day. Alan was clear on the way.
I think, caller, that the people were more interested in getting money now as opposed to getting benefits later. And I believe with all of the monies that we saw being spent on the campaign, you are correct. Some of that money could have very well been utilized to do some of the work that is desperately needed in the country, and to ease the squeeze on the population, so to speak. But I guess, well, in a way, if you think about it, caller, it did ease the squeeze because for the amount of handouts that we're hearing that were given out, maybe that was the Prime Minister's way of easing the squeeze. I don't know, because
I understand.
Maybe that was his way of collecting more taxes.
Not for long term.
Short term. But you know this is a short term benefit.
Yes.
You know that this is a short term benefit government, right? Yeah. So that was the goal, I guess, to win the people's heart by telling them, I'm on your side, and in order to prove that I am on your side, here is a couple of dollars, a couple of food vouchers, because remember we're hearing stories about people who are shopping up to now with vouchers. You know?
Yes, it have a certain date to expire. So they're enjoying themselves with, some people are enjoying themselves with it still. Yeah.
And we
the
don't,
last
we
thing
don't
I
know.
want to say. Some people are asking for the last thing. The last thing I want to say. Some people are asking United Workers' Party to come out and talk. Angie, United Workers' Party spoke to the people. I listened. They are silent, but Labourers are still angry. They're silent. I'm hearing Ernest Hille telling in his meeting to his supporters that they must keep their boots on. And people are saying United Workers' Party is silent. So even the United Workers' silent. You're last 16-1.
Caller,
You're asking the people to keep their boots on. What that tells you, Angie?
Did you say that people are being asked to keep their boots on?
Angie?
I don't understand.
Ernest Hille told the Labour Party, Ernest Hille told at his meeting, told his supporters they must keep, because United Workers' Party is there. They are not going away. They're there. You all must keep your boots on. That means keep on, I don't know, keep on
working.
spending your lives. Because we could
Well, yeah, I agree with you. It can be interpreted in any number of ways. I really need to get a clip of this meeting. This meeting is getting, every time I hear about this meeting, it's getting more and more interesting.
Yeah. You're not telling the people how to be together. You said it in the first instance, and then you forgot everything. When you tell the people keep their boots on, you all have 16 to 1. What boots they have to keep on done to do the work that they were voted in to do? What boots?
Well, I would think that was what they were supposed to do. I'm currently confused as to that statement. Keep their boots on. Okay, well, let's see what comes up. This is quite interesting.
Yes, we are giving them a little chance for them to do their work. We are not like them the first day. We are watching, but we will not be able to stay quiet all the time. If that's what they want, that's why they try to erase everybody to
Ella, you're breaking up very, very badly. Could you repeat what you were saying? Hello? Okay. Caller, can you hear me?
The one they lie. They cannot erase or keep us down. Never.
Okay, thank you for that, caller. Thank you very much. Hello? All right. Bye-bye.
You are the ones. You are the one that's...
Okay, that caller, I don't know if you've made your full contribution, but you were breaking up there very badly and we could barely hear you. But thank you for that contribution. A regular caller to the show from out of the neighboring island of Martinique. And we have another caller right away. Good afternoon to you, caller. You are on the air. Hello?
Hello, good afternoon, Angie.
Good afternoon to you.
How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Not bad. You hear me very clearly?
I can hear you clearly.
Right. I heard that you played a clip a while ago.
Mm-hmm.
What tax is Philip J.P. referring to? Property tax?
He does not specify. He just said that he provided tax amnesty, and that tax amnesty was very disappointing because it did not provide, they didn't get the results that they were expecting. But he didn't specify if it was property tax or business tax or whatever, or income tax. I'm not sure.
Okay, I got you. But Nancy, do you remember very clearly, more than once before the election, Philip J.P. and Amos Hill said the 2.5% they have implemented have exceeded expectations, that they have a surplus of $30 to $40 million they have collected.
Well,
you remember that?
Well, yes, but I guess he has forgotten. Because now he's saying he's very disappointed. So I don't, caller, I can only repeat what the minister says. I cannot speculate as to his state of mind while saying it.
I just show you how these guys comes and they lie to the people of St. Lucia. And elections have come, elections have gone. All the land spending that they had for themselves to be elected, now is the time to face the reality. And the reality in St. Lucia today is every dollar this country earns, 85 to 90 cents of every dollar has to go and pay debt. It's a reality. So when Angie, you're not satisfied that we are paying enough taxes in St. Lucia already? A while ago I heard you said 150 on the gas, the increased VAT. We have to, Isn't that enough?
Actually, the 150 on the gas was implemented by the previous administration, but when Philip JPA came in, he increased that by $1. So now you're paying $2.50 as a gas tax.
Yes, yes. But it appears to me as if these guys want, when people get their wages and salaries, and just give it to them. Why they themselves on the hacks, how government vehicles all around. Why can't you do something like that?
I don't know, caller. I don't know.
I'm telling you, I personally, these guys, and what I think he's doing now, he's laying on the foundation, reasons for him to increase more VAT on persons in Lucia. Now what he's doing?
Well, caller, you again, I have to bring it to your attention. Just after the election, there was a IMF report released, and that report, if you were listening to the show, you would recall that report suggested or recommended that certain taxes be implemented. They were asking for another gas tax. They were asking for an increase in VAT. They were asking for an increase in the amount of money paid to the NIC. And I guess he is laying the foundation to implement the IMF's recommendations. Because Philip JPA is not about to go and stay to the IMF. No, I am not doing this. I will try this my way. He's simply going to go along with whatever they say. By the way, let me bring to your attention that the Health and Security Levy was a recommendation by the IMF, or was it the World Bank? I think it was the World Bank. They recommended that the 2.5% be put back on the VAT, but of course, Philip JPA could not do that, so introduced a new tax.
We were not told so, and you remember that we were not told so.
No, we were not. We were not told so. But he had to say something, caller. He had to say something to make it sound nice. You know, he had to say something.
But Angie, look at you mentioned minimum wage, right?
Minimum.
With all the taxes you spoke about there, if these things have been implemented, what at the end of the month or fortnightly, what will you take home, Angie? To pay your bills, to buy groceries? What will you take home?
I don't know, caller.
No, but we should know, Angie. We have to talk. No, we have to take a stand on these things. These things are wrong. You guys have millions upon millions of dollars to spend for the election. For them to win. They didn't know that. They didn't know that.
Well,
they knew that before the election.
Well, I guess the money finished, caller. I guess the money finished, and they need more money. And where you think they're going to get it? Where do you think they are looking to get it? From you, from me, from everyone.
No. I do agree with you, Angie. There's a way you can do it for the economy.
But I'm not the one. Caller, I am simply speculating based on what I see being placed in front of me. I'm simply assessing the situation. I'm not recommending that the Prime Minister do this, you know. I'm not recommending that he takes it from me. But I am right. I'm simply telling you based on the facts. Based on what is being said.
What I'm saying, there are other ways. I mean, we already paying enough taxes. And so look at the cost. We go to the supermarket. What you bring out is nothing.
Caller,
all the money gone.
Caller, $200 and something worth of groceries in 2 bags in your hand, you know, and it's not even heavy. It doesn't even weigh. It doesn't even cut your finger for you to say yes. I spent $200. You, it's light.
That is why, Angie, little that we have, or the little that we paid for, we cannot go beyond that. We can spend more than that. We can't spend more. Can't spend more.
Well,
This Prime Minister, you see, I have a serious problem with this Angie. Serious problem with Philip J. When I call Dr. Secret program in the morning, I do say, see me, I have serious problem with these fellas. This guy is lying to people. One guy hardly say anything that is true. That's the problem I have with these fellas. Every time is a lie. So much money, all the CIP money. Where the money?
it's gone.
Now you want people, you ask them to give you all their soul now. I'm not part of it. Even though I'm in this country, I'm not part of it. Because I'm a farmer. All of them they're giving to farmers. I'm excluded, you know. It doesn't.
Caller, you are not. You cannot run away from it. Every time you go to the supermarket, every time you pay your bills, you pay VAT and you pay the health and security levy. So
Yeah.
every time you put fuel in your tank, you pay the gas tax. So
They can cut on their spending. Cut on that. People have government vehicles everywhere. Cut on that. Reduce their own salary. Take a pay cut. You're putting more stress on poor people who can't even buy 2 bread in the morning. Who can't even buy a bread. For us, put cheese or butter in it.
caller, did I just hear you say reduce on their salary, take a pay cut? Did I hear you say that?
Exactly. What I said. Exactly.
You realize that you're dealing with. Hold on. Let me remind you, caller. Let me remind you. You realize that you are speaking about the same SLP who raised ministers' salaries when Kenny Anthony came in. You think these guys are going to take a pay cut? Come on, caller. You know better. You know they're not going to do that, caller. You know that's just wishful thinking.
Okay, what I'm saying to you, you and I, on solutions, other solutions, working class solutions, cannot carry the bush on our back while them fellas are riding on the horse.
That is true.
We can't do that.
And I agree.
All of us have to finish. Okay? So if you want me to do so much, and you, as if you are a prince, you're a king and queen, it cannot work like that.
Well,
We all need piece of bread and butter and cheese in it. And we need 3 meals a day. Every solutions.
Yeah.
Solutions belong to me. I can carry all the weight of solution in my back. And anything good, who get into place? I totally against this thing. So much so, I even look, as you put the clip there, I hear it. But I don't waste my time listening to news on TV and solution. I don't waste my time. If I listen to your program, or King of his program, I hear you play a clip, I heard something the father said. But for me, that little radio I have there, to listen to news on that, like I close it. I don't listen to them fellas.
Wow.
No, I don't have time to listen to people like that. So first time I call you, Angie, thank you for listening today.
Of course. And you're welcome to call anytime. Thank you for that, caller. All right, guys. It's time. Yeah, bye-bye. It's time for us to take a quick commercial break, and we will be right back with more discussion on the tax situation in Fair Helen.
You already know the power of Licks products on your clothes and household. You Licks your whites and colored clothes, leaving them fresh and scented. You Licks your dishes and left your hands protected with vitamin E. You Licks your clothes, even Licks your toilet. Now we expect expand and bring you 3 new scents in our fabric softener: Balmy Sunshine, Summer Sunshine, and Thousand Flowers. And rinse those stains off of colored clothes with Lux Corrosive Bleach. Let's rinse even further with Body Care Body Soap Bars in deodorant and antibacterial. So rinse tiredness and bacteria out and refresh your tired body. Your products giving you licks? Then choose Licks from Today Distribution Week. Available at all leading supermarkets.
We're back here on Hard Talk on Fire 107.7 FM, and we are discussing the tax situation. Now, I played you a clip earlier about Prime Minister Philip J. Pierre's assessment of the tax amnesty, or the government's attempts to collect outstanding taxes, and how that played out in for his administration. But there's more. There is more. Now, I want to thank somebody made a comment earlier, and another person. Let me tell you guys, I love my audience here on Hard Talk. I love you guys. Somebody sent me the offending clip. Let's take a listen to this meeting and to what the Deputy Prime Minister had to say. Okay, this is taking longer than expected. Sometimes, guys, when you send me clips, I can't access it. But you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go to Facebook and try to find this so that I can play it. Somebody else sent me the same clip. Let's see if it works this time. Well, all right, doesn't seem to be working. Okay, never mind, because I will find the clip and I will play it at another time. But let's go back to the Prime Minister, because that's not all he had to say about the tax situation. He does give a bit more information about the health and security levy. Take a listen.
Progress. So do not put
hold on. I think that clip is playing. Where is it? Is it this one? I think.
Know how to go away. So do not put your boots away. Do not put it. Do you remember the walk of progress? When the UWPs were getting aggressive, he said to General Secretary, I want to show that what we are doing is what the people want done. And we had the walk of progress. So do not put your boots away. The United Workers' Party, they've not gone away. They are still there from the day after election, posting and saying things and stating things, because they do not know how to go away.
Did I hear that correctly? Nah. No. Let's play that again.
So do not put your boots away. Do not put it. Do you remember the walk of progress? When the UWPs were getting aggressive, he said to General Secretary, I want to show that what we are doing is what the people want done. And we had the walk of progress. So do not put your boots away. The United Workers' Party, they've not gone away. They are still there from the day after election, posting and saying things and stating things, because they do not know how to go away.
I find this statement quite strange. Several parts of that statement I need to. I have so many questions, guys. I have so many questions. First of all, when did the United Workers' Party become aggressive? For all intents and purposes, the United Workers' Party is a conservative political party. Conservative parties, by their very definition, are peace-loving, quiet, classy institutions. Does he have what incident exactly is he referring to when he says the United Workers' Party was getting aggressive? I don't understand. I don't remember any instance. Maybe somebody on here can tell me of an instance when the United Workers' Party was aggressive. Maybe I didn't come to work that day and unfortunately missed the memo. Secondly, he says that the United Workers' Party has not gone away because they don't know how to go away. This raises even more questions in my mind. First of all, were the United Workers' Party supporters supposed to migrate out of St. Lucia when the UWP lost the election? And if that is his rationale for making such a reckless statement, why now are they searching for opposition leader Alan Chasney? Do these government ministers think before they speak? Or do they just come out and say things to incite their supporters and make them even more antagonistic towards persons who do not share their agenda? That is the question that I need to ask. Because it hasn't been a month since Prime Minister Philip J. Pierre, well, I'm guessing it's been over a month since Prime Minister Philip J. Pierre stood up at that podium when he was sworn in as the nation's Prime Minister, where he said that he wanted to see St. Lucians set aside the politics and come together. 3 days later, on his platform, he was once again saying they lose and they must put it in their pipe and smoke it. Then later he comes to the pre-cabinet press briefing and says, everybody come together, even the leader of the opposition, let's work together. But today, and at that same, let me just add, at that same pre-cabinet press briefing, that self-same Deputy Prime Minister, who is saying, don't put your boots away because the UWP has not gone away. He was calling for people to set aside their differences and come together as well. So here's my question, St. Lucia. Are we being governed by Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde? Is it one face in public and another in private? What is going on really with this Labour administration? You see, because you cannot want peace and chaos both together at the same time twice. One time. That's an oxymoron. We have a caller on the line. Good afternoon to you, caller. You are on the air.
Praise the Lord. Angie,
Yes.
bon après-midi.
Bon après-midi, caller.
Merci pour mettre nous wise. Merci pour le programme ça là. Merci. Nous avons écouté tout ça qui a allé, tout ça qui a fait là. Nous avons dit bon Dieu va la force courage, hein. Et nous merci encore. C'est mon dou ça. Moi tant honnête il est pas là son clip pour tenir. Bon, hier il a fini mon côté de la campagne. Et moi je mon tenir la campagne. Oui, hier a dit ma côté de la campagne. Mais aujourd'hui il était la campagne. Eh bien, moi-même, cadeau. Bon Dieu couché, il va pas dormir. Yo là, yo dit yo là, qui tient, yo fait l'hôpital là, nous pas besoin sport, trop sport. Nous pas besoin trop activité bâton. Nous pas besoin trop bagaille jazz, mais nous voulons santé en pays. Et que yo même ça, c'est jeunesse là qui vote bas, yo, c'est ti maman yo qui fait. Bon, quoi yo qui mette, quoi yo qui fait. Nous besoin l'hôpital en dit.
Well, caller, you te ban nou l'hôpital. You pas te ban nou.
On vil dirivaye. On vil dirivaye.
Mais you di you kay buy a bill, you kay buy a l'hôpital first quarter, first half. I pas te même sav ki les fraction. I pas sav ki le mais di I coming soon. C'est ça moi tan ma have. Peut-être moi mal comprendre.
Qui te mon couche wheelchair tout bagay l'hôpital yo ban couche. Quoi ka comme ça, il n'y believe en Dieu. Yo n'y believe en bon Dieu. L'on parle de bon Dieu qui a fait miracle là.
Well.
Mais moi tant Premier ministre jouait pour un vote là. Il parle about pour tout le monde vient together, moi t'es content. Moi content. Ça n'a dit moi il y a des oreilles bon m'attendre. Mais là, il était monté, bon, c'est un jour, pas de Saïdi.
Non, c'est pas Saïdi.
Il va y avoir l'autre subject. Bon, c'est pas ça, bon Dieu dit, il va venir. Bon Dieu, venez ça, hein? Déchimé? Bon Dieu dit, il a mis des à ça qui est plus propre, là, c'est vous point, ça qui est plus mauvais, point. Choose which one you will choose. Choose one. Et bien, moi-même, quand on dit, merci pour le programme, ça, là. Et moi quand dit ouais c'est moun nan ouais yo ka chercher moun tout pour la petite politique ça si mais yo met des jours noirs prier Dieu bay famille yo ici yo prier Dieu bay simplici prier Dieu bay gouvernement because c'est moun ça yo aime dit thank you yo ka dit qui fait yo ka parler comme yo pas ni bon tête ouais c'est moun nan yo pas ni bon tête
ou dit ça quoi là
yo
qui ça qui
pas
dit
ni
ça
bon tête. Merci pour brother secret qui t'a baillé parole là tout. Moi quand oui merci Dieu pour ça. C'est moi d'où ça. Où ça paye à besoin c'est non pour le capoter, qu'a mener.
Qui ça qui a fait ou dit ça quoi là?
Moi d'où et puis faut qui a mené pays à besoin because moi même te content moi dis janvier quand il vient moi quand je ne help papier moi quand il fait visite docteur pour rien. Et quand on m'a souvent l'argent, bah ça y est, docteur. Imagine nous comme tu ok, you souvent $20 pour chaud avec au match non le ton papier au bagage non. Yo pas mêlé, excellent monde. Moi, je crié sous bon Dieu, moi, je crié sous Premier ministre pour faire duty en Dieu. Moi, Dieu, la force quoi pour ouvrir l'hôpital là, parce que nous sommes au pays et nous avons toutes sortes de qualités malades. Nous besoin rescue. Nous besoin rescue. Nous besoin l'hôpital là.
Merci à pile pour contribution encore là.
Bye bye.
All right.
Yo, bonjour, merci encore pour le programme.
You're welcome, caller. All right. Well, you know, this caller actually made a very interesting point. She speaks about the desperate need for proper health care in the country. And it brought to mind a situation that I heard about over the weekend. I found out that there are individuals who are spending days, not hours, listen carefully, days sitting in wheelchairs because there are no beds available to admit patients to the OKEU European Hospital. I also found out that these same individuals that cannot get bed space, they're being given prescriptions and are being told, well, some of them, depending on their situation, they're being told to call a family member and have these family members go to the pharmacy and source certain urgent medications. Let me say that again for the people in the back that didn't hear me. Right now, at this moment, currently, the situation at the Owen King European Hospital is dire. It has not improved. Patients who have been admitted to the hospital cannot get bed space. Patients are sitting in wheelchairs for days, not hours. Days. You heard on this program last week a caller saying that he had spent several hours waiting to see a doctor at the Owen King European Hospital, and that another patient who had been there longer than him started behaving in a belligerent manner and was asked to leave the hospital. I guess you can say, or you can imply or speculate that this individual was denied the health care that they required, because if they're being asked to leave the facility, that means the doctor is not going to see them. This person was there waiting for hours to be seen by the doctor, gotten frustrated, started acting out, and was denied health care in St. Lucia at that hospital, at the island's premier secondary healthcare facility. Patients, these are patients who have not been seen, but those who have been seen and admitted, waiting in wheelchairs for days, medications that they urgently need, the hospital cannot provide, and is asking these individuals to call a family member and send them to the pharmacy to source those life-saving essential medications. Now, one would tell me, Angie, this is not a new situation. People are always being asked to wait long. People are always being subjected to long wait times at the accident and emergency department. And that is perfectly understandable because this is healthcare. You don't want a doctor rushing through your diagnosis and then making a mistake or missing something critical and you not receiving the proper care. That I understand. But to admit a patient to the hospital and have no bed to put them to lie down, that, my friends, is unacceptable. Now, we would be amenable to employing a little extra patience if we knew that the long-awaited St. Jude Hospital was in the process of being commissioned. But alas, that is not the case. Because you see, the Philip J. Pierre administration promised us that we would receive the St. Jude Hospital during the first year of their tenure. And in order to ensure, these are their words, not mine, in order to ensure that we received that facility in due time, they abandoned the new St. Jude's, or the box as they termed it, for the rehabilitation of the old St. Jude, which they promised us would take less time and less resources. $400,000 later. Sorry, did I say $400,000? I'm making a mistake. That is $400 million later. And counting. Because the hospital has not yet been finished. Work is still ongoing. $400 million later and counting, we were handed a building by the current Prime Minister. There was a huge ceremony. Even the Dr. Kenny Anthony, former Prime Minister of St. Lucia, who was one of those Prime Ministers who promised St. Jude in a timely manner and didn't deliver, who spent millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars on the rehabilitation of the old building, was appalled. And I can safely say he was appalled based on his remarks at the handing over ceremony, because he said, and I quote, Stephenson King spent $30 million. He himself spent over $100 million. And now Philip J. Pierre is spending over $200. In fact, he said, and now St. Lucians have to wait for when the hospital is finished and fully commissioned and opened for Philip J. Pierre to tell us how much he has spent on the building, on the hospital, sorry. And he even went further to say that this project is everything that is wrong with our politics today. So, with these remarks, I can safely conclude that Dr. Kenny Anthony was appalled at the farce that was perpetrated that day simply to score cheap political points by Prime Minister Philip J. Pierre. We were also promised the fifth finger of the OKU hospital. Now, you've heard us here on Fire FM speculate which finger or what type of finger that is, because I am of the view that it might just be a middle finger that we would receive from that institution. And we have not heard head nor hair about that particular project, though once again we saw a check being handed over and the promise of coming soon being made, while our sick people languish in a deplorable state in the only place that should be guaranteed to get them back on their feet. And for that, St. Lucians snubbed their noses at a promise of national health insurance, which was geared at ensuring an efficient method of providing health care to people and providing funds so that the hospital can continue its work. But like my brother's favorite song says, majority rules. And while we may not all be in agreement with what is taking place within our island's health care system, we have no choice but to go with the flow. You're listening to Fire 107.7 FM, and this is Hard Talk, where we are discussing the issues that matter. Now, you heard that clip from Ernest Hilaire, and one of the questions that comes to mind is this: does St. Lucia now belong to the supporters of the ruling party? Are you to be ousted from your ancestral home simply because you don't subscribe to the mentality of the Labour Party? Are you any less St. Lucian than you were during the Alan Shasney administration? So it's no longer that they are opposed to the white man. They're now opposed to anyone who does not see things their way. They're now opposed to anyone who is of a different mindset. So this says, St. Lucia, clearly, that we no longer live in a democratic society. What we have done to Fair Helen is to put her in the hands of oppressors. Oh, you guys, you were told that because you supported a white man, that you were house slaves. You recall Sir Calix George sitting on his laurels with his lofty colonial title and calling St. Lucians house slaves. The irony. And yet, these same persons who told you that you were encouraging slavery in this country have now become the black massa. Because now, St. Lucia no longer, it seems, belongs to St. Lucians. It is no longer the land, the people, and the light. It is now the SLP, the SLP, the SLP. Because our country's motto seems to have shifted to, if you're not with me, then you are against me. And you should not be allowed to live freely in St. Lucia. Now, some of you might be saying that I am taking this statement by the Deputy Prime Minister too seriously. But I am of the mindset that when somebody tells you who they are, you should listen, because they know themselves much better than you ever will. So when the Deputy Prime Minister says to his supporters that they should keep their boots on because the UWP has not gone away and they don't know how to go away, am I wrong to assume that he is now telling his supporters that they should work harder to get the UWP supporters to go away? Is he sending out his supporters to get rid of UWP supporters? What exactly does Mr. Hilaire mean by that statement? Because I seem to recall an incident which took place in the 1100s when a certain English king was having a quarrel with the Archbishop of Canterbury. And that English king was heard to remark, and I quote, "Will no one rid me of this troublesome bishop?" And 4 of his knights decided that they were going to do their king a favor, and so they accosted Archbishop Thomas Becket in the cathedral at Canterbury. They asked him to step out of the church. He said no. And he said, "Do what you will." And these 4 men chopped the archbishop into pieces, hacked him to pieces at his own altar. If you are a Catholic or an Anglican, you know that there is a Saint Thomas à Becket. Well, now you know why he was martyred. So, is this the result that Mr. Hilaire is expecting or insinuating when he makes such a reckless statement? Inquiring minds would like to know. I know Mr. Hilaire is a very learned individual. His correct title is Dr. Hilaire because he has a PhD in psychology, no less. Or is it a master's degree in psychology and a PhD in political science? But either way, the gentleman knows exactly what he is doing, and he knows exactly what he is saying. And when this gentleman speaks, I for one do not believe that he makes statements that he is unaware of. I think Dr. Hilaire should clarify his statement and tell us, the St. Lucian public, the ones he is beholden to, because his salary are paid not just by the tax dollars of the St. Lucia Labour Party supporters, but by the tax dollars of the UWP supporters as well. And I believe we need a thorough explanation to this reckless statement that Dr. Hilaire deigned to make. He needs to come out and explain to the St. Lucian public what he meant by that statement. Because he was one of those who said that the election is over and we should come together to bring the country forward. His words, not mine. He also said that they were willing to work with everyone, including the leader of the opposition, in order to bring St. Lucia forward. So was that just simply paying lip service to make themselves look good? I tell you, every time, St. Lucia, these people speak, they cast a greater shadow of doubt upon this alleged 16-1 victory. If you have such a huge mandate, if, as you say, that you legitimately increased your mandate by such a monumental amount, fair and square, with no underhanded dealings, why would you need to make such a statement? Why would you need to tell your supporters that the UWP is not going away? They have not gone away. Are you admitting that there was something untoward in the election process? Are you admitting that in order to, if I should borrow your phrase, make the UWP go away, that you had to employ some drastic measures? Again, inquiring minds would like to know. Because this is the same Dr. Ernest Hilaire who said that questioning the election process should be discouraged, and asked the media to quell the talk that December 1st victory was illegitimate. But here he is, making a statement, an eyebrow-raising statement to the opposite effect. I always ask myself, when these gentlemen speak, to whom do they believe they are speaking? Do they think that St. Lucians, all St. Lucians, are foolish? Somebody is weighing in on the WhatsApp platform. Let's read this statement. The person says, "Good afternoon, Angie. Was Hilaire baptized as Dr. Hilaire? Don't give the man no title, not even honorable. I can't bear this man's name." Wow. Well, he supposedly earned the title doctor when he got his PhD. And the gentleman is very qualified in what I call Mama Guy. Now, I wanted to play a clip from the Prime Minister as he gives some more information on the health and security levy. And I think this part of the clip, we have a call on the line right away. Good afternoon to you, caller. You are on the air.
Hi, good afternoon to you, Mr. G.
Good afternoon, caller.
Happy hump, day, as they say.
I don't even know what that means.
When it's Wednesday, they say it's a hump day. It's the of the week, right?
Okay.
It's a bit overcome electricity. Anyway, I was thinking, before I make a contribution, maybe we could call it use Timofia.
Say that again?
What is that song?
Say that. I didn't hear you. Could you repeat that, please?
No, I was saying, before I make my contribution, maybe we could start calling me Mr. Mafia.
No. Let me tell you why. Because I have three names. And all three of these names I was named after three very important people in my life. My mom, my dad, and my aunt. So, no, you cannot call me Timothy.
Well, after Timothy, it's you, so but I just wanted to tell you your level that one, bro.
Yeah.
And I've been listening, and honestly, I think eventually, if we keep that prime minister, we're going to wake up one morning in the middle of the night. Because
You remind me of a
this
poem.
guy, sorry,
You remind me of a poem.
what?
You just reminded me of a poem that somebody told me once. But go ahead, continue.
Yeah, honestly, this guy he's unbelievable. I mean, first of all, who wants to pay tax?
Apparently, the people
I
of St.
personally believe if I
Continue.
sorry,
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
well, I'm just saying, I believe currently if I did not have to pay tax, I would have been able to live better. Because everything from my paycheck, even before I get my own money, the money that I get up and go to work for, taxes come out of it. Every dollar that I spend, taxes come out of it. Everywhere I go, I pay taxes. Who wants to do that? Nobody. He's complaining that people are not paying their taxes and all that kind of stuff. And at the same time, people are complaining they're not getting their tax returns. So I think you have to brace your stand, Mr. Prime Minister, as we used to say, brace your stand before you could come out and do a still stupid things. You remember the story, the situation with the police just last year? Mr. Law brought it out, and he came out and tried to make the gentleman look bad.
Mm-hmm.
You taking money from the police officers' his paycheck, and still, well, you're taking the money for the insurance, and still the premiums are not being paid.
Mm-hmm.
That is happening on your hand, you know. So I'm saying that to say, if that is the case, I mean, the government is not paying for the police premiums. The police pay for it themselves, and they're not getting the services that they allegedly are paid for. I'm not surprised, or we should not be surprised at the situation from OK or the hospitals, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you don't have to pay for one and it's not happening, it's not the one you have to pay for that will take effect.
Mm-hmm.
All of the other things that he did pre-elections, increasing the pensioners pay and all that kind of stuff, as good as it sounds, that was just to buy, or as you call it, to protect his victory. Because when this guy gives you $1, it is because he first wants 75 from you. So he's going to give you $1, turn around and take the $75 from you. At the end of the day, if you don't check yourself, you say, oh, he give me $1. But literally, it's costing you 75 cents more.
Caller.
Interestingly, they bashed Alan saying, when he said, sorry, the country has, they said Alan said the country is broke, the country has no money. Meanwhile, he was able to bring down the tax. Now, the country is seeing such great economic growth and all that kind of stuff. And you have to bring up taxes? If the country is doing better, why you have to bring taxes? I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say.
I understand you perfectly, caller. I
think we should demand. Sorry. Oh, okay, that's good. But I think we should demand that this prime minister come out and say what it is that is going on and what he plans to do about it. Because secretly, or in a smart way, let's look at the health and security benefit charge, or that everybody's pretty much succumb to. You lied to us about that. What can you say that would convince us you're speaking the truth? You know, I don't get it.
Oh, you were expecting me to get it? No, I don't get it either, caller. Sorry, I can't help you there. I was waiting for you to tell me. I'm sorry. I don't know. I don't know. My mom is a farmer. My dad was the manager of an airline. I don't really know. No, I don't. I can't. I don't can. You know, I
think it's so funny when you say that.
because that was a very pregnant pause. It's like you were waiting for me to answer, and I'm waiting for you to give me the answer. So I just had to let you know.
Okay. Yeah, but it's really, I don't know, people take it for granted. I don't know, these people will be supporting this guy. You guys have been doing lying to us to our face. And even when we try to stand up, he's getting intimidated and upset about it. You tell me, hey, did you really win the elections?
They,
You know, even a work of progress, he left about referring to. I think that was stage still. You know, the only parents so much money to have that.
oh, I'm told people were paid to attend those rallies and those walks and all of that. I am told.
Exactly. Now, even without hard proof, I'm convinced that this is what happened.
They're making you know
It's not
they
right.
don't realize, Caller, that they are making a very compelling case that they did not win this election fair and square. They're making a very compelling case with everything they say that they don't have the mandate they are purporting to have.
And it's the point you made a while ago. It's a really, really critical point. When he went and said, "Oh, we should keep people should keep the boots because the UWP has not gone away." Honestly, I think that's what you were saying is exactly what it is. You know, he put out he pretty much called the hit because already your supporters are so violent, as you know.
Mm-hmm.
You say they put your boots away because they have not gone away. So which means the work we did was not enough to scare them. So let's continue. Yeah. And then the one thing they want to chastise Alan for saying, aren't you mad? You should be mad. We have reasons to be mad or upset, in other words.
But that's the thing.
We're just building a case against their own.
We're not mad.
Sorry.
UWP supporters are not mad. They've gone with the flow. They've accepted the defeat, and now they're just waiting and examining. They're doing the same things that they've always been doing, keeping their eyes open and their ears to the ground, and examining what is happening in our country, because we have no opposition, and therefore we have to now assume the role of the opposition. We have to hold the government to account.
Yes, exactly. Now, I've seen people on social media, people are saying, "Oh, where is Alan Chastney? And he's quiet, or he's not in the country," and so on. Honestly, I don't blame him, because blue air we saw that could have been blue.
Mm-hmm.
And allegedly, the majority didn't listen. So now, I agree. Stay in the shadows, watch what's going on. Let's see how they themselves are going to dig the country out of the mess that they put us in the country.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I remember saying that I had this conversation with my sister, and another thing I said was, when this guy come out, this PM come out and speak, we need to watch him very closely from a distance. Listen to what he said, listen to what he didn't say, and watch his actions. Because when he come and he say, "Don't do this," there's a good chance that he himself is already doing it, or that's what he will do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're trying to point the finger at you before you point the finger at them. That's all it is. And when things blow up, he stays quiet, hoping that they could just wait it out and disappear. So far, I want to say there's one thing that I wish we did, was when the opposition issued the mandate to have Gilles resign, we should have stuck to that. We should have stuck to that. To be honest, what are you name Ernest? It's a nice word, it's a nice meaning, it's a nice name.
Actually, that earnest, hold on, the word earnest means honest and truthful and forthcoming.
And this guy's the exact opposite of that. Every time I have to say this guy's name, I'm not saying it to put you in trouble, but every time I say his name, I would say the one out of two words. Ernest Lie or Ernest Lie. These are the only two words I could say his name.
Wow.
So if I did not say honestly, lie, I would say, honest be like. And even in that thing we had on Sunday, the clip he played, it was just before the Prime Minister himself came on. He was in election mode too. He started off by saying if he has offended anybody, forgive him. And he went back into that bashing thing, and the same thing that he said, oh, we want people to work together. And he said, I'm wondering people I'm hot, you know. I mean, he's just the same election mode, the same nonsense that he spewed and everything. Like, what are you saying?
Among his people, he is hot. That's what he said.
If this I could yeah. If this I could control the weather, we would have had sunshine in the middle of a storm.
Okay then. Sunshine. Are you by any chance familiar with the poem Impossible? Because you are reminding me of it today.
No, there were some others that I remember parts of them, but not the one Impossible.
Yeah, the one Impossible says, one dark, bright day in the middle of the night, two dead boys got up to fight. Back to back, they faced each other and pulled out their swords to shoot each other. A deaf postman heard them and called a blind policeman to arrest them. Impossible. Yeah.
Yes. Well, I think really this is the real life version of it. Oh, and this just to differ a little bit, there's something that I wanted to shed some light on. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's in that manifesto, and we're talking about the digital ID. Mm-hmm. I think we should really take a stand against this thing, because if the captain of the ship is Captain Hook, we should not be on board.
Say that again?
Or Captain Cook. If the captain of the ship is Captain Cook, we should not be on board.
Caller, have a good day. You see, you're trying to make me in trouble this afternoon. Have a good day. Because say that last one again. No, before you leave, say that last one again. Say
if the captain of the ship is Captain Cook, we should not be on board.
Have a nice day, caller. Thank you for your contribution.
You're welcome. Yeah. Keep doing a good job, then.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And you're welcome. Bye-bye.
All right. You heard it yourself, St. Lucia. If the captain on the ship is Captain Crook, then we should not be on board. I don't think I have anything to say about that particular statement. But let's go back to the captain of the ship, because he does make some very interesting statements about the health and security levy. And I hope the caller who reminded me of how much praise the health and security levy got from the self-same prime minister is still listening, because he's about to get, well, let me just play the clip.
One pay them that pension. And then right now these people pay no taxes. Pensioners will be not paying taxes even if you are getting a government pension or an NIC pension, right? Or you have a private pension, you pay no taxes because of our government's policy of creating tax relief. But what we're saying is when you owe the government taxes, please pay it. Because we're going to Parliament next week with more tax relief for the people of St. Lucia.
Prime Minister, what are the government's current fiscal priorities for 2026? And particularly in line of managing debt and strengthening the private sector and the public sector?
In terms of the private sector, you've heard the Minister of Commerce, and this is why we've created one ministry, Ministry of Commerce and Ministry of Tourism, to streamline the processes to deal with the ease of doing business in St. Lucia. We want St. Lucia to be a place where business facilitation is easier, where business processes are simplified, and where it is easier to set up a business. That's the government's main priority in this budget, to ensure that the processes are streamlined, that there is no duplication, and the business people, when you go to business, it's easier for you. Because our aim is to make St. Lucia the best place to live and work in the Caribbean. In all aspects, that's our aim. That's our greater mission. That's what we have in St. Lucia. In terms of our fiscal policy, we have not decided whether, in terms of whether there are going to be any changes in our tax structure. What I can tell you is that we are giving relief next week in the Parliament, or week after in the Parliament, but we also are looking at the tax amnesty, whether we are going to be, what is happening to tax amnesty, but we are going to be dealing with more compliance. We're ensuring that people pay the taxes. So tax compliance is one of the big issues that are coming up in our fiscal budget this year. Tax compliance. Because the economy is growing. I predict growth again for the 5th consecutive time. We predict growth in the economy, but the government's fiscal position, whereas we believe that we are still, the numbers have not been completed. We still believe that we are running some primary surpluses. We have not completed the numbers as yet, but I think, based on the projections I've seen, that we will be running some primary surpluses up to now. But there are big expenses on health. We are in the process of commissioning St. Jude. Big expenses on health. Not only the capital expenditure, which we've got a loan from the Saudis to do, but on the recurrent expenditure. Big expenses, millions of dollars in terms of specialists, in terms of doctors, in terms of ancillary staff. We have major expenses on health this year. For UAC, we also have major expenses. So the health, in terms of our expenditure on our fiscal side, in terms of recurrent and recurring expenditure, health has a big part of it. In terms of national security, later this week, I'm sure you're invited. We're going to be enlisting, I think, more than 70 new police recruits into the police force. We are going to also officially open the grocery headquarters, the northern headquarters. So national security expenses are also going. And I want to assure, I'm going to tell you that our returns from the health and security levy will average between $40 and $45 million. So the whole UN cry, health and security levy, what it worth for the country is between $40 and $45 million. That is not even enough to pay the salaries for the year. Police officers. Then we have a situation where we have to pay another pay increase to our public servants next year. Next year, a pay increase to our public servants. We have another public, because the collective agreement that we have to honor it. So there's another pay increase coming for our public servants. So, but we have to look at our expenditure. We have to streamline our expenditure. We have to stop wastage and try our best to see if we can eliminate wastage and or corruption. In terms of our debt situation, our debt to GDP ratio is still manageable. We could probably end the year at about 78% or 76%. I wished it could be a little lower. But we need to have some major expenses for things that we have to do. Human International Airport is going to be starting this year. The funding is from Strasbourg, but government has a guarantee that loan. When the government chooses a contingent liability on the finances of the government. The cruiser highway, the portion from Valdez gas station to Grocery, that's going to start this year, is from the Q80 fund. The Q80 will probably put a loan already for us. That's happening this year. You've seen work on the VCB road that is being funded partially by our resources and is well apart from Rome. So our fiscal situation has been steady. Our revenue has performed credibly. We've had absolutely no problems. I mean, I was joking, my accountant general this week, Civil Service got paid on Tuesday. So somehow, I think Civil Service is the only country in the region that Civil Service got paid so early. I don't think I was Civil Servants.
So you remember when I said earlier that it was something that our government seems to be a wedding, because there's something old, which is Philip J. Pierre and his just Philip J. Pierre. Something new, meaning the new year. Something borrowed. And you heard the something borrowed right there. Did you notice that he said, we want to make St. Lucia, I quote, the best place to live and work? Wasn't that what Alan Chasney promised in 2021? And of course, there's the blue wave, so they have something blue. But I want you to listen again to the Prime Minister and hear how he speaks in a roundabout way. So first he said that the country needed to collect taxes. They needed a more robust tax collection mechanism. Then he said that they have some huge expenses. But then he said that they have surpluses. Again, when these people speak, guys, who exactly do they think is listening? Do they think that we just let them ramble on and we don't take our time and listen and examine what is being said? In case you guys are confused, because I can literally stay in the studio and see the wheels turning in your mind and you're wondering, but wait a minute, what did I just hear? In case you're not sure about what you heard, I'm going to play it again. The Prime Minister said, he came out first, said, we need to collect taxes. We need to collect our taxes. We're very disappointed. The tax amnesty did not give us what we wanted. They asked him about his fiscal policy. And the Prime Minister said, taxes. He didn't say exports. He didn't say foreign investment, which are all ways that governments raise money. He didn't say agriculture. No, he said taxes. Let me let you hear it again, because you might not believe it coming from me. So let us go back. And I love doing this, guys. I love doing this. I love letting you hear from the primary source, from the horse's mouth. So when I come here and I tell you certain things and I make my assessments, you don't believe that I'm simply speaking out of the corner of my mouth. You understand that I bring you the facts as they are. We have a voice message here. Let's play that before we get into the clip.
Well, what he meant is for him to deliver, he has to tax us.
I'm not trying to.
With more tax relief for the people of St. Lucia.
I'm not trying to speculate on anything. I'm taking it straight from the horse's mouth. So here is the Prime Minister of St. Lucia, Mr. Philip J. Pierre.
Prime Minister, what are the government's current fiscal priorities for 2026, and particularly in line of managing debt and strengthening the private sector and the public sector?
In terms of the private sector, you've heard the Minister of Commerce, and this is why we've created one ministry, Ministry of Commerce and Ministry of Tourism, to streamline the processes, to deal with the ease of doing business in St. Lucia. We want St. Lucia to be a place where business facilitation is easier, where business processes are simplified, and where it is easier to set up a business. That's the government's main priority in this budget, to ensure that the processes are streamlined, that there is no duplication, and the business people, when you go into business, it's easier for you. Because our aim is to make St. Lucia the best place to live and work in the Caribbean. In all aspects. That's our aim. That's our greater mission. That's what we want to happen in St. Lucia. In terms of our fiscal policy, we have not decided whether there are going to be any changes in our tax structure. What I can tell you is that we are giving relief next week in the Parliament, or week after in the Parliament, but we also are looking at the tax amnesty, where we are going to be, what is happening to tax amnesty, but we are going to be dealing with more compliance. We're ensuring that people pay their taxes. So tax compliance is one of the big issues that are coming up in our fiscal budget this year, tax compliance. Because the economy is growing. I predict growth again for the 5th consecutive time. We predict growth in the economy, but the government's fiscal position, whereas we believe that the numbers have not been completed, we still believe that we are running some primary surpluses. We have not completed the numbers as yet, but I think, based on the projections I've seen, that we will be running some primary surpluses up to now. But there are big expenses on health. We are in the process of commissioning St. Jude. Big expenses on health. Not only the capital expenditure, which we've got a loan from the Saudis to do, but on the recurrent expenditure. Big expenses, millions of dollars in terms of specialists, in terms of doctors, in terms of ancillary staff. We have major expenses on health this year. For UHC, we also have major expenses. So the health, in terms of our expenditure on our fiscal side, in terms of recurrent expenditure, health has a big part of it. In terms of national security, later this week, I'm sure you'll find that we're going to be enlisting, I think, more than 70 new police recruits into the police force. We are going to also officially open the grocery headquarters, the government headquarters. So national security expenses are also going. And I want to tell you that our returns on health and security levy will average between $40 and $45 million. So the whole UN cry, you have a health and security levy, what it brought for the country is between $40 and $45 million. That is not even enough to pay the salaries for the year of police officers. Then, we are in a situation where we have to pay another pay increase to our public servants next year. Next year, a pay increase to our public servants. We have another public, because the collective agreement that we have to honor it. So there's another pay increase coming for our public servants. So, but we have to look at our expenditure. We have to streamline our expenditure. We have to stop wastage. and try our best to see if we can eliminate wastage and or corruption.
Did the Prime Minister just say that they were looking to eliminate wastage and or corruption? Interesting. Very, very interesting. The next question should have been, has there been sufficient evidence to indicate any corruption in your government? But that's for another show. We're talking about taxes today. Let's just leave that one there. We'll leave it to speculation. So, the Prime Minister said, one, he was asked about fiscal policy and debt management. He said that he put the ministries of tourism and commerce together to streamline processes and to ensure that people would have an easier time getting into business. And that raises even more questions than answers. Because is he implying that the only business that they are interested in are tourism businesses? Because to me, if you had put the ministries of commerce and finance together, I think, in my humble opinion, my unprofessional opinion, that would indicate to me that you wanted to streamline processes and make it easier for people to get into business, all kinds of business. Or are you simply only interested in tourism-based businesses? Secondly, the Prime Minister said, in terms of his fiscal policy, he is not sure. And he doesn't, well, he didn't say he's not sure. He said he doesn't think that there will be much changes made to the tax policies of the government, the tax programs, because he has some huge expenses in healthcare. And I wanted the previous caller, to hear this, because he was the one who pointed out to me that Philip J. Pierre had praised the health and security levy, said that it did much better than expected. But here is the same Philip J. Pierre talking about the same health and security levy and saying that the money it generated was not even enough to cover the wages of national security personnel. Well, protective services. Let's keep it that way. So again, I ask, are we being governed by Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde? Because the two people running the country phrase was reserved for Dr. Kenny Anthony. Give with one hand and take with the other. But this isn't even that. This is Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde in the flesh. Also, the Prime Minister said the numbers have not been compiled as yet. He is not sure But he believes that they are running surpluses. He first said that there was going to be some robust tax collection. In fact, let me use the word he used. He said the big stick. I didn't play that part of the clip, it was earlier. He said they will be bringing out the big stick. He said he was going to give more tax amnesty. And then he's saying he has to look at the tax amnesty to see what can be done about the tax amnesty. I will forever say that when this Prime Minister speaks, his aim is not to give information. His aim is to see how thoroughly he can have the citizenry in a state of what I call confounded, kerfuffled, and quite confused. On the one hand, everything is fine. Everything is great. Except we don't have money to pay the protective services, and the government's wage bill is increasing, and we need money to pay that. And we have big expenses in healthcare, and the HIA airport is being funded by SLASPA, but the government has to guarantee a loan. And we need to talk about that part of the clip tomorrow, guys. We're going to examine that part. So don't forget that part about the HIA. We're coming back to that. And we're taking our time and examining that statement by the Prime Minister. So don't forget. So what exactly is the Prime Minister saying? Is it that we are running surpluses and everything is great and the economy is growing? Or is it that we are strapped for cash? Because we cannot be, a surplus means extra. At least that's what I read in the dictionary. Now, I don't know what dictionary the Prime Minister is reading, and it may be that his dictionary is different from mine. But a surplus, the meaning of surplus meaning you have extra. That's what it means. There is more than you need. You have savings. So when you tell us that we're very disappointed, we didn't collect the taxes we meant to collect, we did not meet the threshold that we wanted to meet, we need to bring out the big stick, we need to implement and ensure compliance, that the taxes collected need to be remitted to the government, and talk about PAYE and the health and security levy and VAT, implying that these taxes are collected but the government is not seeing the money, implying that we have a tax collection problem, and admitting that your entire fiscal policy is based upon taxes, but then the numbers have not been compiled and you're not sure, but we have a surplus. You're projecting there is a surplus. You believe there is a surplus. You cannot have it both ways, Mr. Prime Minister. You cannot have extra and then still be strapped for cash. So maybe, just maybe, take your time. Forget about the politicking. Sit with the experts. If they are using words that you don't understand, ask them to explain. If you don't want to ask them to explain. There is a little app called Google. If you're not sure how to spell it, sound out the letters, sound out the words in your mind and put the letters you believe is the right word. And Google will fix the rest. And while they speak, the words that they say that escape you, Google it. Or walk with your dictionary and look up the words, the meaning of the words that these technocrats use. If you don't want to do it in front of them because you want to save face because you're the prime minister, record the meeting and sit in your office and Google it and make sure you understand what you are saying before you come to the populace and make these statements. How can it be that you have growth in the economy? There is a surplus, meaning there's extra money, but we're strapped for cash. I don't understand. I don't get it. And how about stop borrowing? At first it was that you were blaming Alan Chasney for everything that was bad in the country. Everything that went wrong was Chasney's fault. It's Chasney. How about you stop borrowing his policies and his phrases and come up with a few of your own, you know? Because remember what he said, everything that came out of his mouth was bad. Or is it only bad when he says it? And is it clean when it comes out of your mouth? And we have no new messages on the Facebook platform. These people have gone quiet. I wonder why. And I think we have one voice message on the WhatsApp platform. Let me just play that.
Yeah, and in regards to that delivering, that's if he plan on delivering at all, because his own party promised us a hospital and they handed out building. And it's not sure if it's in the first quarter or if it's in the first half of the year it's going to be completed, or it's going to be a hospital technically. And speaking of which, he mentioned something of some of the funds are ours or from the Kuwaitis or whatever it is. Are they going to still work on the stadium?
Again, more confusion from this prime minister. So the Kuwaitis never promised us funds for the hospital that we know of. The Saudis gave us a loan. Now, I don't know if maybe the prime minister is mistaking his Middle Eastern countries. But last time I checked, Kuwait and Saudi Arabia are two different countries. So I don't know. Maybe he's mistaking them, and maybe they were all dressed the same. And I don't know. I don't want to venture there. But yes, he did make that statement. Some funds are coming from here, some are coming from there. It's almost as if the prime minister is confused. So, Mr. Prime Minister, please, mise en place. I don't know if you speak French, but this is a French cooking term that simply means put things in place. Prepare. Before you come and speak to the St. Lucian public, because I know there is a perception that St. Lucians have a low IQ. But whoever did that study, their sample size was too small to make a proper assessment. I can assure you of that. There are St. Lucians who are able to dissect your statements, examine them turn them around and break them down into their building blocks and explain them to the people in ways that even a caveman can understand. You know, like that Geico ad? So easy, even a caveman can do it. Yeah. So please, Mr. Prime Minister, I implore you, when you are coming to speak at a pre-cabinet press briefing, have your technocrats explain to you exactly what it is you are to convey to the St. Lucian public, so that you don't come up there and sound as if this is your first day of Prime Minister internship. Now, I say that also knowing that this is deliberate on your part, Prime Minister, because you are not a fool. Neither are you inexperienced. In fact, between you and Stevenson King, Alva Baptiste, and Moses Jean-Baptiste Moussa, you guys have decades of ministerial experience and decades of political experience under your belts. And you've told us several times that you know how to play the game. And I am of the opinion that your intention is not to provide the public with transparency and accountability. I am of the opinion that your intention when you come to these pre-cabinet press briefings is to confuse people so badly that they cease to ask you the pertinent questions. But I don't know if you've realized, Mr. Prime Minister, it's not working. St. Lucians will continue to demand accountability and transparency from the government. They will continue to examine the facts, look at what you say, look at what you do, and make their assessment from there. And people like myself will continue to shine a light in the dark corners, all the dark corners of your policies and your message. So, in other words, when you are coming, Prime Minister, please give us the proper information. Don't take us for fools. Give us what you promised: accountability, transparency, truth, and integrity. Your words, your policy, not ours. And we are holding you to it. That's all for today, folks. It is our time, although I did promise you that I would give you as much time as possible. But guys, you guys owe me some serious overtime here on Hardtalk, because did you know that the show was from 2 to 473? If you want to advertise your business, we have very attractive rates. Again, contact us on our WhatsApp platform 572-3473. Bye-bye.